Tudor cafe. A little while later, Ermine and Minty sat with Lady Lumpchop around a small wooden table in a nearby cafe. The cafe was in a ramshackle black and white building with stained glass windows. Overlooking the River Thames, the cafe looked very old, especially compared to all the shiny new buildings surrounding it. "It's been here since Elizabeth times," Lady Lumpchop exclaimed. Ranny Lumpchop was a tall, elegant woman with long, dark hair. A rare smile, and Ermine thought, a daring choice of hats for the notoriously unpredictable British weather. A big straw, one with a wide pink ribbon. Despite Ermine's concerns that it might rain, the sun was still shining brightly, and that's the Globe Theatre, where Shakespeare's plays are performed, said Lady Lumpchop, pointing through the open window. The Globe Theatre also looked very old, like the cafe. It was round in shape, painted white on the outside, with thick, dark wooden beams, tiny windows, and thatched roof. Ermine took a couple of snapshots with her camera to put in her scrapbook, while Minty told her mum about their plan to be detectives. "A treasure hunt," Lady Lumpchop explained. "What a good idea, Ermine." "Thank you," said Ermine distractedly. She was busy studying the menu on the blackboard. Ermine found the menu very confusing. She had never been anywhere where they pudding for a main course, and bread and butter for dessert before. But there was one thing on the menu that really puzzled her. "Isn't that a bit yucky?" she asked, scratching her head. Isn't what a bit yucky?" said Minty. "Toad," said Ermine, "especially if you serve it in its own hole." She pulled a face imaging a plateful of green toad served up on a bed of mud. Minty giggled. "It's not a real toad, Ermine," she said. "It's a sausage in a batter." "Toad sausages?" Ermine asked. Minty giggled even more. "No, ordinary sausages. It got nothing to do with toads." "Then why is it called Toad in the Hole?" Ermine demanded hotly. How was she supposed to know that the toad in the hole was another name for a battered sausage? Lady Lumpchop came to the rescue. "I think it's called that because the sausages peep out of the batter, like toads peeping out of their holes," she said. "Oh," said Ermine. She supposed that sort of made sense. Her eyes travelled back down the blackboard. "I didn't know you could eat bubbles and squeaks." "What did they taste like?" Minty laughed helplessly. "It's not real. Bubbles and squeaks," she said. "It's leftover cabbage and potato fried up together." Ermine frowned. She wasn't sure she'd ever get the hang of British food. "What about the ice buns?" she asked. "Are they cold enough to make my fur turn white?" "No," said Minty. "They're not cold at all. The ice buns bit, it's just sticky stuff on top." "Why don't I order for you, Ermine?" suggested Lady Lumpchop. "I think that would be a very good idea," Ermine sighed. The waiter came over. "3 fish and chips, please," said Lady Lumpchop. She poured everyone a cup of tea from a large teapot. "Now, Ermine, if you're going to solve the mystery of the Lumpchop's treasure, you need to know the story of the Lark and Lumpchop," she said. "It's called the Great Pastry Plot. The Great Pastry Plot." It sounded thrilling. "Ooh, oh, ooh," squeaked Ermine. "I love history." She cupped her chin in her paws and rested her elbow on the table. "It all started back in 1565, said Lady Lumpchop, "when Elizabeth I was the Queen of England. Elizabeth was one of a great dynasty of kings and queens called the Tudors." Ermine listened hard. "She was the daughter of King Henry VIII. Wasn't he very large?" Ermine interrupted, remembering a picture she'd seen in her London guidebook. "He was when he got old," Minty told her. "He probably ate too much bread and butter for pudding," said Ermine. "Quite possibly," agreed Lady Lumpchop. "Anyway, after Henry died and Elizabeth became queen, she used to visit her father's old place at Hampton Court. It's in a beautiful spot on the River Thames, and Henry VIII built great kitchens there so he could entertain kings and queens from all over Europe. Wait a minute, Mum. I need to write this down so we remember it all. Minty opened her Polly Potter detective set and took out a notebook and a pen. She began to make notes. In those days, the Lambchop family worked in the kitchens, and Lady Lambchop, the youngest of them all, Larkin, turned the meat on the roasting spit. One day, when Queen Elizabeth was entertaining the French ambassador, he noticed something very suspicious. Ermine felt a shiver run through her. While all the other cooks were talking the feast up to the Queen and her guests in the great gallery above, Larkin Lambchop saw one of the Queen's closest advisers, Lord William Wellington, sneak through the roast chicken and pour poison in the Queen's pie. No, gasped Ermine. Pouring poison in the Queen's pie was a terrible thing to do. Why did he do that? The Queen didn't have any children, Lady Lambchop explained. Lord Wellington thought that if he poisoned her, he could seize the throne, but luckily Larkin Lambchop raised the alarm just in time. No, wait! What happened then? Asked Minty. The Queen was so angry with Lord William Wellington that she stripped him of his title on the spot, confiscated all his riches, and ordered him to be imprisoned for treason, said Lady Lambchop, and she was so grateful to Larkin Lambchop that she even made him a lord instead bestowed on him a priceless ruby from her very own crown. Minty scribbled furiously, but the guards weren't paying attention, said Lady Lambchop. Just as the Queen was handing Larkin Lambchop the ruby, Lord Wellington sprang from his captors and snatched it from Her Majesty's grasp. Somehow Wellington managed to escape. By the time he was recaptured the next day, the ruby had vanished. Ermine was on the edge of her seat. It was one of the best stories he'd ever heard. So you see, said Lady Lambchop, although the title has been passed down over the centuries through the Lambchop family, the whereabouts of the ruby remain a complete mystery. She paused, although some say Wellington left a set of clues. Clues? Minty put down her pen. She grinned at Ermine. This was definitely a job for Minty Lambchop and her trusty sidekick Ermine. Ermine grinned back. She couldn't wait to get going with her trusty sidekick Minty. Just then the waiter placed 3 platefuls of good golden fish and chips in front of them. Ermine sniffed cautiously to her relief. It smelled absolutely delicious. Maybe British food wasn't so bad after all. She nibbled delicately on a piping hot chip. There's only one thing for it, said Minty. We need to find those clues, Ermine. You could start at Hampton Court, Lady Lambchop suggested. Hampton Court? Ermine chewed thoughtfully on a fork full of steaming white fish and crunchy batter. Her eyes fell on the river. How about we take a boat? Said